Live from the home office of Ag Solutions Network, it's the AgEmerge podcast. We're here to move the ag paradigm forward by helping you regenerate your soils using new ideas, research, and emerging technologies.
Get ready to improve your soils, your crops, your livestock, and your family's livelihood.
I'm Kim Sheath.
And I'm Monte.
And we're your hosts. Thanks for joining us.
Hello everyone, here we are today in Five Points, California. I'm glad to be joined by Dr. Jeff Mitchell, who attended AgEmerge this year, but he's also done just some fantastic stuff on getting conservation tillage and now integrated cropping systems, as far as really looking hard at what regenerative agriculture means and how it can be applied here to California. And we're standing in the middle of the longest term study on soil quality in California.
Well, I guess the longest term study that has a reduced disturbance, no-till component to it. So we've been going since 1999, and the original goal here was to see if we could reduce some of the dust emissions, the particulate matter emissions, by reducing tillage. And obviously you can dramatically, so that was one early outcome that we saw. But since then, it's really developed and evolved into a soil function, a soil care or soil health effort there. So what we have out here we're standing right in front of one of the four systems that we've been evaluating now for 20 years. And this one is actually our no-till with a winter cover crop. And what we're particularly keen on this winter is we took the goal of accentuating diversity pretty seriously, and we put different mixtures in our drill with separators, and we have a pretty nice array of species expression right now. So this is one system. We then compare this with a no-till without cover crop, and then two standard tillage systems, again with cover crop and without cover crop. So the with cover crop is a green manure that gets worked in, and the other one is just bare soil there year round. So it really has, without tooting our horn too much here, we've monitored this fairly aggressively and intensively, and there have been major changes that have had. We've documented changes in lots of soil properties, lots of biological attributes of the soil here, including changes in bacteria, fungi, nematodes, and even macrofauna here. So we're plus a bunch of physical things here too. So it's been a great thing. And this guy here, Monte, was an early on partner on this effort here, and really helped us with what we needed to do. And that was to be successful with the crop establishment, the planting techniques, his experience and know-how and patience, frankly, to help us get there and to get the crop in the ground and growing there. So that was a big thing. So we had lots of struggles.
Early on, it was a cotton tomato system, which was reflective of this area, and trying to no-till cotton is tough. And I think one of the things Jeff and I first worked on was getting the planter retrofitted to be able to have the right planter attachments and also deliver, targeted plant nutrition to help facilitate the establishment. And then all of a sudden, when we were able to get that going, the yields took a big jump that first year. And then it became, because at first it was looking at, okay, how much savings can we have by not tilling, and that cost savings offsetting maybe the potential lack of revenue from the crops.
That's right. Yeah.
And it worked out that way. But the hard pill to swallow is no farmer really wants to go backwards in yield. Yeah. They want to maintain yield and reduce costs, or increase yield and maintain costs. They may even increase costs to increase yield, but it's a lot of people don't like to make a change for reduced cost, reduced yield. So, but by doing those things, you've done a lot of advanced work to figure out how these things work in this environment to perfect it. And you've come a long way. And this is the 19th or 20th season for this plot, right?
No, you're absolutely right. What you just said there is absolutely true. We struggled early on establishing some of the crops, and one of the other aspects of that whole economic trade-off situation there you just described is tillage passes, and the cost of tillage in an overall crop budget for some of these higher value crops in California is relatively modest. It's $100, $150 per acre.
That might be big for barley country in Montana, but for here it's 3% of the budget.
Something like that, yeah.
Yeah.
So we've maintained yields by and large. We've had to now finesse the planting or transplanting for other crops now beyond cotton, which was a struggle, frankly, in a lot of ways. But now this will be no-till tomatoes in another month from now, or melons, I'm not sure exactly what. But we're going to transplant into this. And again, with Monte's guidance and his experience here, we're trying to go up to another stage or level of integration and production performance improvement here, I think.
So one of the things I think is really important to point out about your long-term study, I think there's two really groundbreaking things that apply not only here for California farmers, but globally.
Yeah.
One is what you've done with these replicated. You have the 4 studies. You have conventional tillage with no cover crops, right? The second one is conventional tillage with a cover crop. Then you have, it used to be reduced tillage, now it's no-till.
Flat out,
with no cover crops. And then you have, used to be reduced tillage, now it's no-till with a cover crop. And I think there's thousands of points of data within your massive data set you've done, but I think the interesting part out of all of it is obviously it's pretty apparent that conventional tillage with no cover crop, we get the results we've always had.
Yes.
So there's been minimal improvement or change over time. That's kind of the baseline, right?
That's right, yeah.
But to me, I thought one of the most unique things is having a conventional tillage with a cover crop has nearly equal carbon parameters and some other things now. The microbiome is different, but conventional tillage with a cover crop versus no-till with no cover crop have very similar properties. So if a person incorporated a cover crop with his tillage system, he's doing better.
That's
or
right.
If he parks the plow, he's getting better, about the same, roughly the same. Now I know that's going to drive a scientist like you generalizing it too much, but
no,
is that a fair generalization?
Well, yes, up until the last and most recent sampling. All right, we have not done a major multi-property determination here, but we are doing that this year.
Right.
This study is part of one of the North American Soil Health Institute studies where we're looking at a lot of things, and we'll have a better answer to that
but on a carbon level and on those kind of things, it's relevant. But when we get into the diversity of the microfauna and macrofauna, that's going to likely show difference and in favor of cover crops.
But but even on the carbon, I'm not sure what it's going to look like this current round there. We'll have to see there, yeah.
But the penultimate of these 4 systems is no-till cover crop, and now you've taken that even a step further, and we're standing in right here a very unique cover cropping system that you worked with Keith Burns with Green Cover Seed, who was at our meeting here a couple days ago at Piscinas Ranch.
Yep.
And what have you got going on in this plot? And this is the best management practice that we're aware of to date, correct? What all have you got going on? I hear a lot of bees going on too.
Well, so what we did was we used a John Deere 1560 drill, and we put cardboard separators in the seed hoppers, and we used both the small seed hopper and then the large one. And we just separated the species mixtures, several of which we did get from Keith Burns in Nebraska. And our goal was, frankly, to get more diversity expressed and not have single species dominate and everything. And I think we succeeded relatively well there, and that was a good learning experience. So, and another thing we just saw out here on certain of the plants, we were pleased, quite happy to see the rhizo sheath on a number of the cereal plants out here. So
in fact, we'll probably put in, we'll splice it in because we have video of that moment when Jeff was jumping up and down and exclaiming how excited he was to see that.
Oh, Monte, oh, damn it. Thank you very much. No. Oh, baby.
Take it up to the camera and show them, folks.
Monte Botton's just showed me something extremely important. I am very happy. Look at this. Thank you. This is encouraging. I really think that we are putting a little bit of the practices here now and seeing a little bit of success in the outcomes right now. So this was not always the case here, but I'm glad to see that this is out here, and I'm glad, frankly, that you came to visit us today, Monte, because
it looks wonderful.
Well,
this is amazing.
And we also looked at a number of soil things when we dug some shovels up there as well.
So I think that the first major outcome was documenting that, systems, tillage and cover crops and their tiered return is interesting. The second thing I think that's really big for California farmers and for dryland farmers anywhere is you went back through the data set with all the neutron probe readings that you've taken over time and all the water balance, and you calculated out where I had a cover crop, how much water did that cover crop consume, and how much water does that cover crop maybe return me in season because of the extra mulch layer I have on the surface. The Dwayne Beck taking the E out of ET, and I'm going to keep talking because you can see right now he wants me to get done so he can share this. Okay, so this is a huge finding. Take it away.
Monte is flat out right about that. We are extremely committed to the kind of soil water content and water depletion monitoring, not only in this site. You probably can't see it out here, but every one of our plots here, all 32, have tubes that go into the ground down to 9 feet. And we've been doing this for many years now. But in addition to this site, where we're measuring soil water content during this winter cover crop growing period, under cover crops versus fallow plots, we're also doing this at about 15 different farm sites, including almond orchards in California and annual crop tomato fields. So I don't want to show our hand yet to you here, but we made a pledge within our research group that we would keep the information that is starting to emerge from this together in our group there until the end of this year, when we have the whole story compiled and interpreted there. So it is something, I say this to people, it's probably the most important thing that I'm dedicating, and that means a lot of running all over the place to get the data and everything. But I think it's important because the dogma here in California and probably other places, and you hear this brought up in meeting after meeting, I'm not going to grow a cover crop because it takes so much water. Well, it's more complicated than that, all right? There's dew on the leaf surface here. There's much more leaf surface, frankly, here. There's capture. There is absolutely orders of magnitude improvement in water infiltration.
Yes.
There's shading of the ground surface. So we are exactly doing what you mentioned, Dwayne Beck is saying, make more water go through the crop or the plant as transpiration, and reduce the evaporation part of ET there. So it's a lot of things. There are trade-offs for sure, but I think at this point the message is it's very complicated, and we'll see what the data show us.
Sure. So, and I don't want you to let the cat out of the bag on the study that you're doing right now at the multi-site, but there was enough information from your data set that you've done here to realize that it's a net, real close to a net trade, so it was worthy of further exploration and validation at other sites.
Right. Yeah.
Because if I remember, and we didn't talk about this ahead of time, but it was like you're using 2.3 inches of water to grow the cover crop, but your net in season was 2.1. And it was as you were exploring this process, so it was a near. And
it depends on lots
trade.
Of factors too. How long you let this grow,
and what your growing season's like, and how much mulch you have on the surface,
and when the rains come, and all these other kind of things there. So in essence, you're right. So,
but it's not a pure waste. I think that's one thing you can assert is that it's not a pure waste of water to grow this cover crop because of the infiltration benefits, the shading benefits, the temperature regulation, the surface mulch, reduction of evaporation, and the micro air movement on the surface of the soil. Yeah. Like you said, the dew collection. Yeah, we've been walking in this, and my jeans are soaked, and that opportunity doesn't exist over here on this on this conventional tilled ground.
So no, you're absolutely right, and we'll see. That's an exciting thing I think we're working on, and I could be full of myself thinking that it is that important, but we're looking forward to knowing what happens there at the end of the year.
Sure.
So you came to AgEmerge. You met some interesting people.
Yep.
I know you've had some opportunities to collaborate since then, but I'd like for you to share a little bit about what did you learn, take away from, experience at AgEmerge itself, and then maybe share some of the collaboration that's happened in the last month since then, and and the third part is what do you see the need for ongoing collaboration and how to facilitate that so that we don't just have this mighty mountaintop experience and then nothing happens. So, like I said at the closing, the only difference between old and new is do. We have to take action on those things that we learn. So, just to kind of walk us through your thoughts on the event and follow up and continuing collaboration.
Well, first of all, it was nothing short of an inspiring, greatly eye-opening experience to be there with so many outstanding thinkers, pioneers in lots of ways, that I was utterly energized. And I'm not just saying that. It was that kind of an experience. It was very well done, and you had top-notch people. The participants there who were involved with the whole thing, I think you set in motion a lot of connections between people that are going to endure. In fact, I was complimenting you and your team here in California to learn just a couple of days ago at a follow-up kind of event there where people are also looking at changing paradigms and what they're doing and very eagerly wanting to get there as well. I was pleased to learn that as an outgrowth of the meeting in Monterey, there's now a cluster of 30 farmers right here in the San Joaquin Valley who are meeting every 3 months to just exchange information and ideas and to share the knowledge that they're developing here. That's a fantastic thing. I mean, you and I have been part of these kind of connected groups there for a number of years, but to see that expand and flourish and really with good information driving it, all right? There were top people who are not only leading scientists in these new frontiers who were at the event, but also some truly outstanding pioneer farmers that were there as well. So it was, I've told you, and I'm not schmaltzing this on too much here, but I was very, very impressed there. And you all did a great job, and it was utterly fantastic to see that happen.
Thank you. Appreciate that. Now, since though, you and Dr. Daphne Miller, she came right here to this site, and then also with one of the other attendees there, a farmer from up by Madera. You all went together and talked about just what is this connection between the soil, the plant, and the human, and understanding how that all works together. How did AgEmerge move that concept forward, and what are some of the things that you guys are collaborating on now and looking at doing and continuing to move that forward?
Well, that's a good question. I think that's still in the development phase there. But no, Dr. Miller did come here with another medical doctor, actually, and we have sort of committed to ourselves.
She didn't graze on the cover crop.
No, but one of the interesting things when she saw this was that she was already scheming to try to make this human food, all right, and sell this as a diverse, new kind of a.
Did you tell her market. It's already spoken for? This is microbe food. No, we got to feed the microbes first.
But that was her first idea there, which caught me off guard because I had never thought of that before there. But no, I think the connections that were, again, we went to a recent meeting the last weekend or so here over in Piscina's Ranch there, and many of the same connections between the soil microbiome and the importance of that whole system there, plus our own human gut biomes, and those kind of connections and relationship together there, that's going to be a tremendously important ongoing kind of a thing. And so what we've done now, as to answer your question directly, I think we've committed to staying in touch with looking at ways that we can move this to the next steps there. And I'm not sure what that's going to be yet. However, one idea would be to take a little bit of the success that you have recently had with the AgEmerge event and some of the other things that your team is doing in California, and that's to bring up some of these topics with people who are not currently exposed to them. And that could be in an informal, small group of folks that we might invite to come out here if they'd be willing, and start talking the dialogue of why and what we've seen here and why it might matter here for changing. So that's one thing we're doing there that I think is a direct outcome of those connections with Daphne and other people that we met there.
In fact, that's something you started just recently, and you're promoting it. It's This is research that farmers and the public are paying for, and it's making a phenomenal impact on human health, on farm health as far as the farmers and their businesses. But you decided to make yourself available and make this plot available on Friday mornings, right? So on Friday mornings, you're looking at being here, I think, 9 to noon.
Yep.
Is that correct?
Well,
it's a standing open invitation.
Yep, that's right. So that actually comes from, again, the meeting with you in Monterey in January. Dr. Daphne Miller was on the program a couple of times, and one of the things that she showed everyone was that the idea of having open houses. And Gabe Brown mentioned the same idea. His farm is open to the public at all times there. And yes, we are open, but I wanted to accentuate the public benefit, the resource that we really have here. And yeah, I'm going to, for the next 3 months, we'll be out here every Friday morning, because I think it could, and already there have been people emailing me and telling me that they're going to come here. So that's kind of a nice outcome.
But that's an action step you took personally,
but
out of being encouraged and collaborating with folks at AgEmerge.
Yeah, that's right.
Plus, you're continuing to establish those relationships with this high diversity crop. And do we plant them in individual rows? Do we mix them all together? Do we? And then the other crazy thought we had here this morning. Am I allowed to say this, or should we go ahead and shut it off right now before we say anything?
Go ahead. What are you going to say?
Well, when we're standing here,
the animals.
And after you've seen all this, I'm thinking of a great way to sequester carbon and make plant nutrients available, and that is going to step 5, which really brings it all together in the soil health principles, and that's integrating livestock.
Yeah, no, I mean, I would love nothing more than to do that in the next 12 months here. And I think I've begun to talk, several of the farmers that we have been interacting with these last few months here, they're on that path already. And you know that, and you're helping that, and you yourself in Illinois are doing just that these recent years. So maybe in a modest scale, but we'd like to do that. So that's not that far-fetched. If we can pull it together, I'm going to do that, yeah.
Because it also, for the farmer, becomes another revenue stream, whether he's having somebody custom graze his, or whether the farmer decides that she would like to get her own herd or her own flock in order to run out there. It's an additional revenue stream versus just a cost, and at the same time, it turns these cover crops into more bioavailable nutrients, stimulates more plant growth, takes the potential for soil quality to go to the highest level that we know of possible at this time. So I'd encourage you on that, and I think there's several dairymen who were there who've decided to graze their winter cover crops, and in Scott Park, we just visited with him yesterday, and he's gone from bringing in some sheep to he's going to buy some sheep.
That's amazing.
And he's going to hire somebody, and he's going to go for it. So he's got kind of a crawl, walk, run approach, which is a good thing. Have the neighbor come in, buy some more, and then scale up and sell the meat, either wholesale or direct. So there's opportunities in the many times we can look at it's kind of a bleak picture, right?
Yep.
Water. Never hear much positive about water from an agricultural standpoint. Emissions and ecosystem services, so both dust emissions and fossil fuel emissions and water emissions. And then also other things that are, just simple financial components of the export markets that are volatile these days, and also the financial components with commodity crops that are just always looking at ways to reduce the price. So this does, what you're doing at its core, offers hope.
No, well, thank you.
Correct?
Thank you very much. No.
And I mean, I have to compliment Jeff. He's been very gracious with his compliments of us, but Jeff works tirelessly in making this all happen. I mean, he pulls samples, he delivers equipment, he puts probably 200,000 miles a year on various vehicles around the valley. He teaches students, he goes everywhere, and he's really dedicated to making a difference. So it's a lot of fun to get to work with you. We have our back and forth, good-natured humor and digging at each other from time to time, but it's amazing what he's been able to accomplish in really changing the paradigm, because what we're standing in right here is not normal.
No, but thank you very much, Monte.
But it's a direction we need to go, and I thank you for all the hard work that you're doing.
Thank you for everything. We appreciate it.
We thank Dr. Mitchell for taking time out of his very busy schedule to be with us today and share what he's learned and what he's looking to do in the future. It's pretty exciting to see where we've come from and where we're going in California agriculture, and how we're going to continue to improve as we look at ways to feed much of our country. Many specialty crops are grown here with limited water resources, with soil that is aggressively tilled and has been degraded in its carbon content, and in a society that doesn't look favorably upon farming. So we're going to rise to these challenges and overcome price fluctuations and profitability concerns, and also environmental concerns, by doing the right thing, applying the soil health principles, and taking action to make all these things happen. So I hope you enjoyed today's podcast. We look forward to our next one and seeing you at an AgEmerge event.